All right, in this video, we're gonna talk about how to use Pro Tools templates like a pro tool. Let's get into it. So the first thing I'm gonna cover is what is a template and why would you use one? Number two, then I'm going to show you what it looks like to have templates that are up and ready and the power of having them. And lastly, I'm going to show you how you can build your own template so that you can use it each day in your own work. What is a template? A template is basically your session setup. Like when you're in the software you're using to record, you have to make tracks so that you can record things to those tracks. This is a process that you go through when you create a new session. You gotta create your vocal track, you have to create your keyboard track, your beats or drums or whatever you're doing. You have to create these tracks, which depending on which DAW you're using, can take longer than other DAWs. For instance, in Logic, it's a lot more intuitive to creating those tracks and duplicating those tracks. If on Pro Tools, it's a little less intuitive. Everything has to be done manually, one thing at a time. If you duplicate a track, it's just a little bit different. So the whole idea of a template is you build up these tracks for the thing you're trying to do. You essentially save them as a template. Like you can literally save it as a template. There's a couple different ways to do it, I'll show you. But the benefit is that the next time you go to do that thing, in my case, I do a lot of remote drum recording for people. So it's very helpful for me to go and pull my drum template in and immediately get to recording drums or picking out drum sounds or working on the drum part and not sitting here manually creating kick drum track. Let me label, double click, kick drum.01, command right, and going through every single track and then assign, listen. If I had to do that every single session, I would be very annoyed. And I actually did do that for a very long time. And occasionally, in the heat of the moment, if I'm distracted, I will do that instead of remembering, oh, I have a template for this. This would save me literally 5 minutes of time. That is what a template is. And let me show you what it looks like. So it's gonna open up this session. And as you can see, there is a group of tracks here. Everything in this session is organized exactly how I am going to organize it when I go to record this thing, which is drums, right? Okay, so let's go through these tracks real quick. As you can see, I have my click track. It's assigned out 23, which goes to my headphones. It goes to my monitor, my control room monitoring, if I want to hear that. I have my master fader. Also, you can see there's plugins across all of these, right? So just notice what's here. We have tracks, we have buses, right? So these black tracks are all buses. The blue tracks are audio tracks. And then all of them have a few things already done, right? They already have their inputs assigned for that track. They have their outputs, and in this case, I'm busing, right? So for my drums, my drum audio tracks are all busing to a drum kit bus. So all of my drum tracks go to this fader right here. And then internally, I have these little submixes, these little mini buses, if you want to call them. So like my 2 kick drum mics go to this kick bus, which allows me to put a compressor or an EQ on my kick drum, and it affects both mics on one fader, right? So it's also just, this is just a part of my workflow. So if I didn't have this template, every single time I would go to record drums, I would have to manually create, okay, let's do stereo master fader. All right, I also want to do 7 mono tracks, and I also want to do 3 stereo tracks or 2 or whatever it is. I have to think about this, and I have to create all of these things individually. Oh, and then I also have to create all the buses. Okay, how many buses is that? That's like, I don't know, 3 stereo buses, and then 2. The thing is I'm doing guesswork here, and this is, you know what all of this isn't doing? Recording or working. This is all taking time to do each individual thing. And then after I created those, I have to then go through and label them and make sure that the mono and the stereo tracks are in the right spots. Then I have to assign inputs. I have to assign all of that stuff. Takes time. And it's you know, if you're doing something you're not used to doing, or you're doing something different on a session, that's okay. Obviously, you can't have a template for every possible thing. But if there is at least one or two things that you know require some routing in a handful of tracks, if you can have a template for that, it's going to save so much time. So let me just show you the power of this template. So I'm going to close the session. I'm going to make a new session here. Okay, so now I have my blank session. This is what I mean. I could go through and I could do, here's my master fader. I could do, all right, I want to do 5 mono tracks, and then I want to do 3 stereo tracks. And by the way, if you notice, I'm using key commands for everything so that I can fly through this. So I'm pretty fast at this. So I could do kick in, .01, kick in, or kick out, .01, snare top, .01. I literally am using key commands for every single part of this process because I have done this a lot, and you have to be fast. I mean, when everyone else is here, especially if you have clients there waiting, you want to be lightning fast and get to the thing that you're trying to do. All right, so I can already tell I messed up the number of tracks. So overheads, let's call it rooms. And this is the other thing, is like I don't even remember what my drum mic setup is in the current moment, right? So like I got this wrong. This is on a whatever. So my point is, you can see I have to manually do this. I haven't made any aux tracks yet, so I would have to do a bunch of auxes, and then I would have to move them to assign them in between every single thing. I'd have to do my drum bus, and then I would have to jump over here and I would have to route everything. Okay, this is all going to go to kick, is going to go to a kick bus. I have to shift option, find where's my kick, you know, and then I'm looking through all of these buses that I've made. If you've done the work to go through and customize all your buses. And so all of this takes, I don't know, what has it been, like 3 minutes since I made this session? No. So we're going to select all of our tracks here. We're going to delete them. And here's what I'm going to do. With a template, you can start a new session from a template. So I would have done that before I even started. Or there is a feature in Pro Tools called import session data. And this is actually how I use templates. So the key command for it is Shift Option I. And now I'm going to go to my template folder, and I'm going to grab my drums, right? So drum template, and then all of the things I need to do drums are here. So I'm literally just going to hold Option, click, and then hit OK. Now watch what happens. Done. Drums done. Okay, now some of you might be saying, but Andy, I don't do the same exact setup every single time. I use different mics, different placements. Totally. Same here. Now here's the thing. No matter what my microphone setup is, I'm going to route things to a drum bus. I may just use one mic on kick. I may use one mic on snare. I may change what those mics are. That's fine. But you still have to make tracks. You still have to make buses. You still have a master fader. You're still using a click most of the time. And this just eliminates the need to literally do every single step of that. Now, on mine, I also have plugins. So take a look at this. I have like, you know, different things on my kick track here. So for my kick, you can see I have a expansion and gate. I have an EQ on here. That doesn't mean I'm going to use this every time, but it does mean if I'm going to use it, it's already there. If I don't like what's here and I want to start from scratch, I just close it out, right? It just means I don't have to go in and find that plugin and assign it to every single track individually every single time I'm going to do that thing, recording drums, right? So this is just time saving in the workflow process. So the power of the template is, number one, speed. And the thing with the speed is, like, just like with all of whatever you use in your studio, the goal is to be able to record or to be able to mix. And every single step that is required to do that, that gets in the way and slows it down, is something I call friction. And I want to reduce those as much as possible. So templates are extremely powerful in my workflow. So a part of the speed, what you can do is you can eliminate those redundancies or friction points, right? Which is creating tracks, labeling the tracks, creating buses, assigning every single thing, finding plugins for them, labeling everything. If you're a freak like me and you want to color things in a certain way, all of that is eliminated. It's already done how I want it to be, right? Now let's go to the next logical step. This is a drum example, right? The next thing most of us are going to do is vocals, right? So I have a vocal template, same thing. If I want to pull those in, Shift Option I, I'm going to go to my vocal session template. Boom. Now, I have some things in my vocal session template that I already have in drums, like click and master, so I'm not going to pull that. But if I drag this down, make sure I'm not importing any playlist stuff. There shouldn't be any because it's a template. But I hit OK. Now watch this. Vocal tracks. Not only vocal tracks, vocal folders, right? So my vocals, my effects, everything that I'm going to use for that thing is in here. We've got the vocal lead bus, backgrounds. This is my vocal record track. Everything under the vocal record track is where the vocal gets dragged down, but I do all my playlisting on this. And again, it's the same concept of redundancy. This has my input on it. It's always going to be, it's actually 25 now. Occasionally, you do have to update things like that and make sure you're on the same spot. But the power is that I didn't have to make any of these tracks. I didn't have to label any of this. I have to put any of the assignments. So it just buys me all that time. So now we're ready to jump in and do vocals. And I have some version, not every song is going to have the exact same arrangement or track layout in your session. But if you have the basics of what you think are going to be really valuable to have, then it's going to save you all of that time that you don't have to spend getting there, right? So same thing with all of the plugin assignments and hardware assignments, because I'm using both plugins and hardware. And by the way, Sweetwater, who is sponsoring this video, who we all love, has a bunch of software deals going on right now. And I made a little list of the plugins that I use the most often. You can literally see them here in my template. It is a lot of FabFilter. It is a lot of UAD, right? Some of it is Spark, some of it is actual just UAD plugins that are running off a satellite. I even have some, I guess this is probably a UA one, the black box. This is Plugin Alliance. You can get a lot of this stuff. I made basically a short list of the plugins that are my go-tos, because there's a trillion different plugins now. And you don't need a trillion plugins, but you do need some staples that, I mean, as you can see, like I'm not doing a ton of stuff. These EQs are just basically high-pass filters, right? And a de-esser. These are just here in case I need them, but it doesn't mean that I am choosing to use them every single time. So check out that link down in the description if you're interested in some of the plugins that are a staple in my workflow process. And thank you, Sweetwater, for sponsoring this video. Next, I just want to take a look at what exactly is in each of these templates here. So we have the drums, right? So I already showed you the audio tracks going to a bus, right? So my kick in, kick out are going to a kick bus, which allows me to put this 1176 on there, and my SSL 611 EQ. Same thing, snares going to a bus. But outside of the busing, I will use aux or bus channels for parallel tracks. So I have like a kick parallel track, snare parallel track. I also have a kick sample or snare sample, which sometimes I use. Most of the time, they're just a part of the template. So if I want to use them, again, I don't have to go through that, like, okay, create the track, find trigger, assign everything. Like, it's just already there. It's ready to go. And if I want to turn it on and hear it, great. And if I don't want to, I just don't turn it on. And then I'll use effects, right? So reverbs, delays, things like that. So on the drums, I just have like a, this says played. This is probably a room. If I was a betting man, I would say, yeah, large room. Okay, and then next is vocals, right? Vocals where a lot of the effects are really gonna be. And honestly, having the effects in the template is one of the biggest time savers, especially for vocals. I get into analysis paralysis when I go to think about effects, like, oh, well, what do I want? I want a slap, okay, I might want a chorus, I might want a reverb or whatever. So this just has a lot of the things that I am typically going to like to hear in a mix, right? So I have a couple different versions of a slap delay. This is the UA Galaxy Tape Echo. I've got a couple of effects on here, the chorus, a couple different versions of choruses and reverbs. But the concept is the effects are all loaded, they're all labeled, they're all routed. Some of them even have like EQs. They have settings that I like, ready to go, so that if I want to add an effect to a vocal, I can just assign it, or I can just unbypass the path to it, and then I can hear it. It's ready to go. I don't have to go through the process of creating, routing, finding the plugin, finding the setting, finding the right levels I want to send to it. It's just, I've done it. This is close to where I want it to be, and then you can adjust. So it just buys back time for every single step of the way. And you can imagine doing this for every different part of the process, every different instrument, every different element that you may be recording, every different part of the session that you're going to do. So these are two examples of the templates that I use, the drum template and the vocal template. You can obviously figure out how you like to work for whatever it is, save it as its own template, and then go to pull it in so that it's just ready to go for yourself. I'll go ahead and show you how I will build a template for myself, starting from scratch. So now we have our blank session, and we're going to design a template for us to work off of. First thing you need to do is understand what your goal in this session is, but most of the time you're going to need a couple different things, right? You're going to need a click track, a master fader, meter. If you don't know why, well, it's just to meter what your levels are on your output, so make sure that you're not driving things too hard and distorting things too badly, because if you don't have a great interface or you're not using hardware, it can just make things sound a lot worse. So we'll start by creating a click track, the one thing in Pro Tools there isn't a shortcut for. So we've got our click track now. This is just assigned to come out output 1, 2. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to the output that I want it to come out of, which is output 23, so that it shows up on my headphone box where all of the musicians are going to want to be able to hear it. And then if I want to hear it myself, I can go into my monitor controller and then listen to it on there. But a lot of times I don't want to hear the click track while recording. I want to listen to the song. So next I'm going to create my master fader in Pro Tools. You just create new track, and the key command for creating new tracks is Shift Command N. And there's a bunch of ways that you can work through with key commands to actually make all these tracks, which does make it go faster. Otherwise, you can do it the worst possible way, which is just clicking stereo, master fader, and create, or even worse, doing that one at a time. So in addition to creating the tracks that I need, there's other parts of how I want to set this up that do take some time. I like to have sort of color coordination on things so I'm not distracted by what's there or having a harder time find something. Most of my auxes or buses are all set to none on the color, so there is no color. So my eyes are drawn to the audio tracks, which are generally what I'm looking for. So for an example, let's do some drums. So I'm going to create some mono tracks for my drums, and let's just imagine we're going to do kick in, kick out, snare top, snare bottom, hat, ride, tom 1 and tom 2, and a mono room mic, right? That's 9 mono tracks. Okay, and then I'm going to do a stereo overhead. So if you're in this new track window, here's a key command for you. If you hit Shift Command down, that allows you to add another category of tracks that you want to add, and then you can use command arrows left and right to change from mono or stereo, or God forbid you do something else. And then up and down allows you to switch between the track type. So I'm going to go to stereo audio track. So that's going to be my stereo overheads. Now I'm going to do Shift Command down again because I'm going to want buses for my drums. The first 2 buses are going to be mono, so I'm going to leave it at mono, and I'm going to do Command down to change it from audio to aux, which is my bus. Aux, bus, basically are the exact same thing. And then Shift Command down again because I'm going to want some stereo auxes. Oh, let's change our mono aux. I actually want to have 4. 1 for kick, 1 for snare, and then 2 parallels. And then for the stereo aux, we'll go stereo, command down aux, and we'll do the drum bus, which is stereo. And then I'll do 1 for my effects, and then I'll do, to keep it simple, I'm just going to do 1 stereo aux for, let's say, a reverb for the drums. Okay, so this is hopefully everything that I need. Actually, there's one more. I'm going to do shift command down again, and then command up, which is to get a folder. I like to put my drums in a folder. Everyone has different ways of doing this, but this is hopefully enough for all of my drum tracks. Right now I hit OK, and I have all the tracks that I need to start my drum template. So I'm going to drag my folder up to the top. I'm going to take the color off of the folder. We're going to label. Now I'm going to go through our labeling process here. So double click. We'll call this drums. When you're in the labeling window, you can also hold command and do left and right to move on to labeling the next track. So I'm going to do command right, which is audio 1. So this is going to be kick in, command right, kick out, right? Capitalizations, OCD, command right, snare, top, command right. So I'm going to just change the colors of these auxes to none, and then I'm going to move my kick and snare bus up to where the kick and snare are. So my kick will be right after my kick tracks, my snare will be right after my snare tracks. There's no particular order that matters logistically. This is a preference thing. So now I have kick in, kick out to the bus, snare top, snare bottom to the bus, hat ride, actually for my studio routing are after the toms. So the next step in this process is going to be actually assigning inputs and outputs, right? So I'm going to select, there's a way to do this. Actually, it's already default because I made them all at the same time. The inputs lined up here. But let's just say you didn't do that. You can select all of your mono tracks at the same time. Kick in, kick out, snare top, bottom, tom 1, 2, hat, ride, right? And for the way my mics are plugged in, that's all consecutive. So it should just be 1 through 9 or whatever it is, 1 through 8. So I'm going to hold Shift, Option, Command. Okay, Shift is apply to all selected. Shift is apply to selected. Option is apply to all selected. Command is going to be a sort of consecutive thing here. So if I'm holding all 3 of those buttons down and I select the first track and I hit input 1, what it's going to do is it's going to renumber these tracks that I have selected in order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you can see tom 1 and 2 are actually 7, 8, and hat and ride are 5 and 6. So I'm going to do Shift, Option, Command, and then I'm going to hit 1, and it's going to reverse those. So look at tom 1 and tom 2 right now. They're going to switch from 7, 8 to 5, 6. Boom. So it just reversed those orders. So now these are in the correct order. Then I'm going to assign the inputs for my overheads, which is probably 9, 10. And then this is going to be 11 or 12 or something like that. So now I have the inputs for all of my drum tracks. Next, I want to make a group. So I'm going to assign these. I'm going to unselect the buses because I just want my audio tracks. Part of this is going to be my record group for my drums. Command G, drum, record. So this is my drum record group. So now when I want to mute all my channels or I want to record, arm all my channels, they all work together. Same thing if I'm doing a playlist, meaning I'm going to do a new take. I can hit Control Command / I believe. Now all of those tracks grouped just switched to a new playlist. This is like the basic of setting up my template here. So, you know, you could go on and you basically get this process here of just, it takes a lot of stuff just to get this stuff up. And I haven't even tested any of this yet. I don't have any of my effects. I don't have any of my plugins assigned for anything. I don't have any balance on my faders. Also, I haven't even routed it to my drum bus. So there's still all these steps. So now I can assign the drum bus, go to Input, Bus, Drums. Boom. Now I can take my tracks that are not being submixed. So basically I could take my kick bus, my snare bus, and then the rest of my drum audio tracks and assign the output to that drum bus. So now all of the drums are going to that 2-channel bus, and I can control the whole drums as one fader. Now I have to do the same thing for my submixes, which is these individual kick and snare buses. So I'm going to do kick in and out and assign those to my kick bus. See, this is like just time. This is like that awkward moment when people are sitting behind you and they're like, not ready, huh? Rookie. Kick, snare, shift option, bus, go down, snare, boom. Now you got to assign the inputs. Kick, snare, bus, shift option, command, since they're right next to each other. So now these kick and snare are routing to the buses and the other audio tracks are routing to the drum bus, etc. But every single element in this template I have to manually do. And if you're not using templates, you're doing this every single time you do a session, which is bonkers. It's just totally avoidable, unnecessary. The other thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to drag all these tracks into this folder. Well, you just select them and drag it over the track, and now they're in that folder, so you can hide them once you're ready to move on, and just clears up the view a little bit here. Okay, so now if you want this to be a template, you can just save this session and name the session as the template you want it to be called. You can literally just hit Control Command S, and then you can call it new drum template, right? And now this session file is your template, and you can come back and pull in the session data from this forever. Or the alternative is you can actually save it as a template file. So you would go to File, Save as Template, and then you can choose where you want this template to be saved, and then name it New Drum Template and hit OK. And that means that you can basically save this, close it, then you can go and create a new session, and you can do Create New from Template. So you hit Create from Template, it's in the music folder. So I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to look for New Drum Template, do that, create, and now it's going to create that new session with that template. My preference is to actually save them just as session files and be able to pull these tracks in, this template in from the session file. So the process to import from that template you saved is going to be import session data. And the key command for that on Mac is Shift Option I. So I'm going to go to my drum session that I saved. It's called Nashville Drums on mine. Hit OK. And all the tracks that are in that, I select. Make sure your playlist is set to none if there's recordings in there. There's also all of this other data that you can choose to import or not import on here. So you can check all that out and make sure that you're importing exactly what you want, and then hit OK. Now, my new drum template has all of the things that I want in it, right? All the plugins, all the balance, all the routing, and it's just, and gosh, it feels so good. It's like, oh, I know, we're good, we're ready. Same thing, we'll do it again, but we'll pull in the vocals on this one. Shift Option I. Hey, we're gonna do vocals, is that cool? Yep. Give me 1 second here. Vocal session template, enter, vocals, effects. Okay. Yep, that mic's over there. Why don't you pop the headphones on? I've got my vocal tracks. It should be on input. See, it's my tracks off here. 25, but now I only have one thing to change. And I can go over to the mic, check 1, 2, and you can see we have levels and are ready to record right then and there into the session. So the amount of time that you're gonna save in your day-to-day by having all of this already set up for you is going to be monumental and gonna be worth a lot. So that's how I do it. This has become a huge part of my sessions that we do. It just is a time saver. It's literally that. People are spending money to work with you, and if you want to be able to charge more, then you better be able to deliver more. And this is what people are paying for. Is they're paying for the experience to know that when they come in, you're ready to go. It sounds good, you're fast, you're competent. And then on top of that, you know, you gotta be like a good hang. You got to be cool and know how to like run a session. But as far as the technical parts of Pro Tools and the template, this is just a massive game changer. And you can obviously do this with every different step of the way. You can do it with VST tracks, with virtual instruments. You can do it with, keys for bass, whatever, all of the different things you could be doing. Percussion, drum, percussion overdubs, things like that. You can have whole percussion templates, and you just make it whatever you want. So this is my favorite way to do it. I hope this was helpful for you. If it is, please let me know down in the comments. I might do, I've had some friends ask me some questions about this stuff, so it just made sense to put this in a video. If there's something else that you're trying to figure out in Pro Tools, let me know down in the comments. It might be an easy fix, and I'd be happy to share anything that I can that is of value here on the channel. If you like this content, please hit the thumbs up button on the video and hit the subscribe button. That is an indication to YouTube and to me that this content is valuable to you. So hit that like button, as cringy as it is to say. That is how I know to do this kind of stuff, and there is value in it. If you are setting up your own studio, or you want to do some more advanced stuff like this, but you would rather just talk to me one-on-one, I do consultations that you can schedule on my website. On my website, that's also how you book me for sessions. I've got drum samples and stuff like that, which I build into my template. There's all sorts of cool stuff that will be helpful at the website. So check that down in the description. And if you want to pick some stuff up from Sweetwater, there are affiliate links down in the description. That's another great way to support the channel. If you're already picking something up for the studio, if you use those links, that helps support what I do, so I can do more stuff like this. And I would love to do more stuff like this. This stuff is so valuable for people to know and to be able to do on sessions. There's nothing worse than getting hired for a gig and the clock is ticking and everyone's standing there and you're just like, crap, I don't know how to do this, or the pressure is like having templates, knowing the key commands, knowing how to import data, how to make a new session and have everything you need right away so that you can just start on the next song is so valuable. And it just takes a little bit of time. You can do this yourself. I'm not selling templates for you. You can make your own templates. And it's not that hard, and it's good practice for you. The only other thing I'm gonna plug here is I'm working on a drum recording course. So any of you who are drummers or audio engineers who are looking to get better at recording live drum kits, we have a drum recording course wait list that you can sign up for. As that's coming along, we're going to be offering pre-sale discounts for anyone on that list. It's going to be a pretty in-depth, principle-based recording course on drums. It's not going to be, you got to buy this gear, you got to have this. It's going to be principle-based, so it's going to be a process that you can use every time, no matter where you are and no matter what you have. And it will be incredibly valuable, but it's a lot of work. So if you want to be notified of that so that you can be the first to know and get a discount, join that waitlist down in the description. And yeah, remember to have fun, that this stuff is actually all designed so we can have fun and write better songs and produce better music and get better as artists and engineers and musicians and on the actual material we're working on. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.